It was 2:45 a.m. I'm on the side of the road. This was about 10 years ago. And I'm thinking to myself, how in the world did I get here? Not sure exactly what you're thinking. I didn't get in an accident. It definitely wasn't alcohol induced. But as I think to the last 6 months of life up to that point, life was just a blur. I was working what felt like 24/7. I was overworked. I was overwhelmed. And I was driving back from work at about 2:30 a.m., Highway 59, and I get a flat tire. I knew that I had to be back up working in my territory by 6 a.m. the next day. So what that meant, I realized that I no longer was going to get any sleep that night. And as I was sitting on the side of the road, it was the only cold night in Houston. For some reason, my windows, they wouldn't roll back up. So I had to partly roll down windows. It was freezing cold. I was on the side of the road, and I'm staring at my steering wheel, just thinking, how in the world did I get to this point? How did I get to the point in life where I'm working this much? I'm so overwhelmed. And that was one of those moments that I remember and I recall, among a couple others, that really set me on the path and set me on the course to realize that I wanted and I would create a life for myself where I would have a reasonable amount of time and I would have a reasonable amount of money to live out some of the purposes that I had for myself in life. That was an instrumental moment. And a couple years later, which is about 8 years ago, I realized that dream in starting my own business, coaching, and consulting company because I wanted to have a reasonable amount of time and a reasonable amount of money to do the things that were very important to me. And I really wanted to give other businesses, other entrepreneurs, the chance to have extraordinary businesses, but also for the owner and for the people in the company to also live meaning and significant lives. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about some things that are going to help us get there. I want to talk a little bit about two big things today. One is I'm going to talk about the foundation of business. And the second thing I'm going to talk about is the structure of business. Now, this is going to be really good for anyone involved in small business, or if you sell to small business, certainly if you own small business, if you're a self-employed professional, if you are involved in a direct sales company, if you're a manager in a small company. I believe that these points, what we're going to cover today, are going to be great. And as I go through this today, I'm going to look at it twofold. One, I'm going to share with you a little bit about what I do, just a little bit, a glimpse of that, as well as I want you to walk away with some great ideas, some great nuggets, perhaps some great resources to go and create awesome businesses and also awesome lives. The foundation of the business, I break it down into three different areas of the foundation. Now, there's many more things than these three, but these are three things that I want to focus on today. Number one, and this is truly foundational. When people figure out this number, it changes everything in business and in life. And the question is, how much is your time worth? How much is my time worth? It's a difficult question. It takes people a long time to kind of get to that number, and some people that comes very quickly, but it is paramount as a leader in the small business community, as an owner of small business, or anyone that wants to get ahead. You have to understand that number. What is your time worth? Is it worth $50 an hour? Is it worth $500 an hour? And here's why that number is important. First of all, it's all about freeing up time to work on the most crucial things in our business and our life. And so oftentimes we get stuck doing low value activities, and we need to figure out ways to free up time to work on the most significant things. And so once we have a clear picture of how much our time is worth, or how much we want our time to be worth, then it gives us more freedom to delegate, to outsource to other people, or to invest money in other systems or technologies. Or there might be some opportunities just not to do things because it's not worth our daily time. It really increases productivity. People live by this number. I have a client who his goal is to have his time be worth $10,000 an hour. And when we started out, it wasn't worth much less than that. He's not to 10,000 yet, but he keeps working his way up, and that affects how he makes decisions. How much your time is worth affects even coming to networking events. Is it worth it? Are you going to get a return on investment for coming to this type of networking event, for example? In regards to hiring, does it make sense to hire another person on your team? What would the salary be? It deals a lot with labor costs too. Like, how much does it cost to hire someone? Would it be actually freeing up a lot more of the company's time if, in fact, we did hire other people? How much is your time worth? It might help you say no to people, no to distractions, no to interruptions, because you value your time. And the reality is, your time, or if you're a leader or an owner of the company, look at your people's time. Having everyone know the value of their time is going to help the business and everyone else be more productive. It's going to reduce the cost of labor. It's going to produce the efficiency, which hopefully will produce the results. And the question or the mantra or the mindset, which is powerful, it's scary, it's crazy to think about, but if you and if I are doing things that are significantly less than our hourly worth, in essence, we are stealing from the business in which we work. That's a powerful mindset to kind of chew on and to think about. You wouldn't want someone, an employee, to come and steal from your company. You would never think about stealing something physically, but we're stealing in return in regards to our time and doing things that aren't worth what we know our time is worth. That is foundational for every person and every business. The second thing to look at is to think far in the future. This is a concept that coaching, consulting, they all do. Sometimes people use Jim Collins in terms of his good to great idea of what's called a BHAG goal. These are big, great, humongous goals we look at. If you look at 10 to 25 years from now, what is the one big, massive thing you want to accomplish in your business or your career? It could be, many of my clients are expanding to different geographic areas. That could be a goal. It could be a charitable goal of how much you want to give back. It could be the amount of people you want to impact, the amount of numbers, money that you want to earn. There's a variety of different BHAG goals, but it really starts with thinking through. A lot of times people say begin with the end in mind, really thinking through deep, far in the future, and then looking back, and then working a plan based on that huge, massive goal. So what is your massive goal? What is a massive goal 10 years from now? Or maybe if you want to go to 25, what is a massive goal in terms of your business that you want it to look like 25 years from now? This is foundational for creating a business that gives you great results. And then the third thing, which is foundation, not just for business, but just in general, and you can take this concept from my book that I wrote, Entree Balance, which really digs deep into this from a story standpoint and a life standpoint, is as you look back, and if you go to the end of your life and you look back, what do you want to say about your life? Or what do you want, and they call it the tombstone test, literally what would be something that you want written on your epitaph? What do you want to be remembered by? How do you want your life to be lived so it would be lived with significance or purpose or meaning? What does that look like for you and me? These are foundational. There's many foundational things, but if we don't think about these three, it's going to be hard to really look and grow through the different structure of the business. So that's something that I want to encourage. So just to kind of recap the foundation of the business, knowing how much your time is worth, having a big, huge, massive goal written down that you can focus on, and then knowing your tombstone test, or what do you want your life to look like? Because the reality is, in terms of these three items, we should really do it in the reverse order, where you want to do your tombstone test first, because it's so easy to create or articulate a career or a business that maybe generates more money, maybe does some things, but it doesn't give you the life that you want to live. It is a meaningless business and a meaningless career. And I figured that out through hard knocks in life as well. So the structure of the business. What does that look like? Well, I broke it down into 4 different areas. And again, there's more than just this, but I look at business planning, business development, people, and money. So again, business planning, business development, people, and money. We look at business planning. One size does not fit all. That's something I want you guys to remember, is one size does not fit all. Huge mistake at the beginning of my coaching is I was trying to put different people, different size businesses almost into the same process. And when I realized that just isn't the wisest thing to do. And so what I did with my coaching program and consulting program is I created 5 different distinct coaching packages. And sometimes even within those 5 packages, either I or a member of my coaching team, we kind of create a blend of different packages that look specifically at the size of the business, the people, the resources, and we create a plan. We help them create a plan based on their own individual needs. One package is the executive development package. This is really for companies that have 10, 20 to 80 to 100 employees. This is the larger small business that maybe has a team of leaders, 4 to 10 leaders on this leadership team. And here the coaching is a lot of times done in a team environment where the whole team goes through a process monthly, quarterly, and yearly, with oftentimes a blend of individual coaching sessions in between. And what I'm going to do is show you a little bit of an example of a strategic plan, a one-page plan that we help companies create, just because you can get a idea of what it looks like. So go ahead as I pass this around the room. I didn't make enough copies for every single person, but it'll kind of give you a glimpse of what we help create in terms of the plan for this type of coaching. Now, if you want to read the best book written for companies this size, and a lot of the process is from some of the concepts of this book, is a book called Scaling Up by Vern Harnish, an awesome book to read. The second package I call Owner Excellence. This would be companies that maybe have less than 10 employees, more than 3, definitely looking to grow, looking to expand, looking to scale, want to get to that point where they have more locations or more people, or definitely increased profit or revenue or products or services, highly motivated people. This would be the Owner Excellence program. And this is really a combination of group coaching, but the group coaching is done with other peers that are kind of in similar growth stages of business, along with individual one-on-one coaching with the owner, and sometimes the owner with one other person on the leadership team. Again, this is called Owner Excellence. The third program that we help people with is the Individual Accomplishment Program. This is great for maybe less than 3 people. If you're self-employed professional, I've created a lot of my own proprietary Entree Results material for this group. But again, I just have a wealth of different resources, different process, different programs I use to kind of bring it all in. And as people graduate, there's a graduation that sometimes happens between one level to the next. And people, as they grow, as companies grow, I just bring them up to the next level of the process. Fourth thing is sales mastery. This would be for specific sales teams, usually a little bit too small to have a sales manager, maybe 2 to 7 sales reps. Sometimes we do this, and we can do this with larger sales teams, but this is really a good fit for companies that have 2 to 7 sales reps that really want some extra accountability, extra process, and usually this is delivered through by one of my coaches or perhaps even me in a team monthly sales meeting along with individual one-on-one sales coaching. Awesome program. And then the final one, and I'm going over these very quickly, but the final one is more about work-life balance, the Entree Balance program. I wrote a book called Entree Balance. Being an entrepreneurial-minded person or having your own business and having that balance and what that looks like. And although each program has an element of life balance in it, this really hyper-focuses on the life side of things. And my coaches on my team, they really focus on delivering this. Planning is super important, but I wanted to mention 2 of the biggest problems with planning. And this is something for you to think about. This is something for definitely me to think about. Number 1 is having the wrong plan or process. Like I mentioned before, one size does not fit all. That's why it's customized. That's why even within each company, it needs to be tailored. Its templates don't work for this stuff. They can't just throw a template out there. There's process for template, but there needs to be some fluidity within that process. The second thing, and this is the biggest thing, and this is really, when it really comes down to it, this is what it's all about. Very few people are able to do that consistently. And this is honestly why coaching, and I believe some type of consulting, does help tremendously, because you can create a plan, but it's all about the execution. And that is what coaching comes in. There is consistency. There's an accountability. There's you tell me where you're going to be, and I'm going to help you get there. In some ways, it's no different than if you want to get in shape physically. You might even know kind of what to do, but when someone's there to see things a little bit differently, kind of tweak things a little bit differently, give you some different ideas, and then hold you accountable for the plan you created and not let up, just being tenacious to help you get to where you want to be. And then every once in a while, just being able to see things differently, make things less cloudy, having more clarity on the plan. This is where coaching helps. And lack of execution is the number 1 reason why businesses don't get to the next level. They just can't execute. The next section, and I'm going to go a little bit quicker on these, would be business development. Business development. That is a huge part. All of us here today are in some facets involved in business development. When I say business development, I either mean sales or marketing. Sales being converting qualified leads, marketing being creating these qualified leads, lead conversion, lead generation. That's what I'm talking about here. Just a couple things to think about in terms of things I've learned working with different people in sales. One thing I learned is it's really key, and I learned this from a whole bunch of different people in the direct sales industry that have gone through the Entree Results coaching process, is that focusing on the activity and voraciously taking the right steps, making the right amount of calls consistently is going to give you the results you want. And so although, yes, it's all about results, it's really about that activity and figuring out a way to track that activity and make that happen. That is something that many people don't have someone helping them out with. And in business development, it makes a huge difference. The second thing, which is so true, that people are incredibly bad at this. Even people that think they're great at sales aren't really good at this. And it's about follow-up. Everything is about follow-up. And there is a general lack of follow-up, and that is a huge encouragement. Now, of course, with business development, I have a process for creating a marketing plan. We have a process a sales model that we use. We train on overcoming objections, all the different things you think about. But these are just two things to consider. The final thing is a lack of referral strategy that I see out there. Sometimes it's very easy as a coach or consultant to help create a really good referral strategy and be consistent with it, because there's a very little financial, it doesn't really cost that much to invest in a referral strategy, and sometimes there's a great return. Business development is huge, especially the first 5 years of business. Sometimes it's all about business development, and I've spent the beginning part of my coaching like almost solely focused on business development. I have a background in business development. It's so key. But that leads us to the next thing is once companies get to a certain size, it starts to become all about the people. It's all about getting results through other people. And that's the third element of a structure of a business is people management or leadership. And you have to learn, how are people motivated? We have to learn, how do you consistently meet with people? This is a huge element of taking it to the next level. So going back to how much your time is worth, this is really important in terms of leading and managing people, helping them and coaching them up to do the right things. Is there someone you're working with, someone that reports to you, an assistant that maybe you need to kind of speak into them, this idea of how much their time is worth? The other thing I see that's a huge, huge challenge that definitely when we come in, sometimes it feels like magic in terms of the results we get, but there's an inconsistency with communication. There's an inconsistency with team meetings. People don't know how to have team meetings, what it looks like. And so as we look at just these meeting structures, which could be a daily huddle, a weekly, a monthly, a quarterly, a yearly, we put together structure for that, and then you open up the line of communication, especially along bigger companies where people are interacting together. There's some level of accountability within the people of the company. Next thing you know, results start happening quickly, and more easily. I've seen many things to think about. Have you considered how you hire people, a hiring process, a review process? There's so many different things to think about in terms of people. The fourth and final thing of the structure of business is money, cash. There are so many misconceptions about money, and I just wanted to share a few things to think about. One thing that I see all the time, and this isn't 100% wrong, but a lot of times people focus just on revenue, and in many ways revenue isn't always the right number or the most significant number. For many people it's a number to kind of brag on, it's a bigger number. But there's a lot of other numbers to think about as you look at your different financial statements. Really, to understand and consistently look at, your balance sheet, your cash flow statement, your income statement or profit and loss. These are significant things, but also within, say, the profit and loss, knowing which numbers to measure and which numbers are significant as you look at your plan to 3 to 5 years out, 1 year out. Choose some quantitative numbers to focus on and then create benchmarks or priorities or goals that are based on getting you to where you want to get numerically with those numbers. A lot of people, especially people that start off that are very good in business development, sometimes they're good to a certain point, but the numbers thing or tracking the numbers is weak. And so obviously there's other professionals that can also help take the numbers to a whole nother level. We have a process for helping tracking those key numbers and creating key performance indicators. So if I was going to ask you, what's the number one or number two numbers in your company right now that you track voraciously? How do you measure that? Do you have a metric for that? Do you have a dashboard for that? What does that look like? The final thing to think about, and this is just a little nugget that some people have control over and some people don't. But having a pricing strategy is killer important. And here's what I've seen, and I can't tell you how many people that I've worked with or our coaches have worked with where literally creating a pricing strategy compensated for the entire coaching investment for the entire year. If you go to the grocery store, you'll notice a couple things. You'll notice that prices keep going up, even on things we have to have. Milk is more expensive now than it was 10 years ago. Prices go up. And so they have a strategy for raising prices. If you own a small business or you have control over the pricing of your company, if you tweak a few numbers, if you're consistent with it, if you have a plan in place, the profitability of your company will change dramatically with a pricing strategy. I learned this from a client, when I got started 7 years ago. He raised his prices a certain amount every year, except for 1 year during the recession. He kept it flat. What is the pricing strategy? What does it look like? And then what is the bottom line results it would have on your business? Just to kind of recap, and then I'm going to close up. All right, we know that the foundation of the business is key. There's a lot of areas on the foundation that I didn't cover today, but we looked at 3. We looked at how much your time is worth. We looked at creating a big, massive goal, perhaps call it a BHAG goal, if you're going to take that from Jim Collins. We'll take a personal tombstone test. What do you want your life to look like? What do you want it to be written on your tombstone? How do you want to be remembered? That's one of the foundations of the business. And then we look at the structure of the business. We looked at planning, and we remember one size does not fit all. It's important to, depending on the size of your business, to tweak your plan. But really, it's all about execution. How are you executing that plan once it's created? Second is business development. Do you have a plan for business development? I just gave a couple little glimpses of what it means to get better at business development, things to think about, sales and marketing. Final question, do you have a marketing plan on paper? Do you have a sales process on paper? These can make huge, huge impacts. The next one is people under the structure of the business. What are we doing to better manage, lead people? You get to a certain point, it's all about getting results through other people. Have you looked at hiring? What are you doing for reviews? What are you doing to delegate? What does the meetings look like? These are all things to think about for people. And then finally, with money, what are you measuring? What are you tracking? And what are the goals and the plan that are based on those specific numbers? 2:45 about a.m. That's when I started this talk. It was 2:45 approximately a.m. in the morning, and I was miserable. We'll take about a year ago. It's 2:45 a.m. again, and I'm up. And I'm on a plane, an 8-hour plane, flying back from a service project that I had a privilege to do with my family for a full week. Got away. I love doing those things every year. I have the privilege to be able to go on another kind of week-long service project here in about 3 weeks. This time I'm going to Haiti. I have my son in my arms. It's 2:45 a.m. It's about a year ago. And he's 7 or 8 months old. And I just had a chance to reflect back on my life, reflect back on those late nights that I was spending working long ago. Now I have the privilege to spend those late nights doing what I want to do, coming back from service projects with my family, which is part of the reason that I believe I am here on earth. And so I'm very thankful to have that opportunity to have a business that has given me the chance to certainly work hard, but to have a reasonable amount of time and a reasonable amount of money. And I really love it that I have a team of people. I have process. The company's strong, and it's only getting stronger of how many people we can help. And I'm excited about what the future holds. And I know without a doubt that the best is yet to come.